Viewers, welcome back to the February edition of the policies, international events, and the sum up of what all that's happening in context to India. And we have the international section, we have the national section, we have the policies, trends, and macros, and then we also have the budgets. So let me start off with the international policies and events. So India's vaccine diplomacy continues, and it's gaining a lot of ground because we have two major players, the Bharat Biotech and Serum Institute of India, who have almost de facto become the vaccine suppliers to the world. And we even had the Canadian PM calling us. Now this has to be seen in the backdrop of the Canadian PM extending support to the farm agitation in India. You have to understand that Canada has a substantial amount of Sikh cabinet ministers and MPs in their government, which is the coalition government along with them. And therefore, to play a lip service to them, the Canadian PM had openly come out in support of the farm agitations. Now, what happens in India, whether it's right or wrong, I think generally has to be contained within the Indian borders, but international community usually takes up issues like these to settle scores or to gain an upper hand with respect to negotiation and other things. But the Canadian context was very different because Canada has been one of the biggest opponents of India extending farm subsidies. And in the World Trade Organization negotiations, they have always been bringing up this topic and saying that India should stop giving farm subsidies, whereas the Farm Bill agitation has been predominantly to extend the minimum support price, which translates to subsidy. Now, under this backdrop, there was a relationship which was fraught with suspicion and mutual distrust. And then now suddenly, because Canada needed the vaccines, and then suddenly in the parliament, the other members of parliament were raising the issue to Justin Trudeau, who is the prime minister, as to why he hasn't called Delhi. So Justin Trudeau made this effort to reach out to Indian prime minister. And fortunately, we didn't play politics. We agreed and extended the benefit of supplying the vaccines to Canadian people. I think it's a very good gesture. It will put the Indo-Canadian relationships back on track. Continuing with the vaccine diplomacy, India has also offered around 2 million doses to the UN peacekeeping force. So slowly what we are seeing is the stature of India on the international diplomatic front is slowly increasing. That's one positive step. The second very positive step that has happened in India recently is that our bilateral relationship with Bangladesh has grown leaps and bounds. Now, it's a very important neighboring country with a large population, with a common language heritage, and unfortunately during partition we had to separate. But before partition we had close to around more than around 7 or 8 railway links between the two countries, because it was just one country. Now recently one of the railway links which has been defunct since the Indo-Pak War of 1965 has been reopened. That's a link between Haldibari in India and Chailhatti in Bangladesh. Now with this operation, now we have around 4 railway lines which link Bangladesh and India. Definitely it's going to increase the trade between the two countries. More importantly, it's going to bring the cost of transportation down, and some of the areas which will be phenomenally benefited due to this restoration of rail links will be the northeastern region. The third very important event that has happened on the international front is that a special agreement has been signed with United Arab Emirates, and this agreement is for bringing in investments into India. And Indian government has traditionally treated Mauritius and Singapore as has always given a special status with respect to treating investments from these two countries. Now United Arab Emirates has been brought on par with Mauritius and Singapore with respect to how we treat the investments from these two countries. So I think this is a very positive sense, because one of the biggest advantages we have seen in the last couple of years is that our outreach to the Middle East has really got bigger and bolder. And geostrategically, this is going to play a very strong role, because the Southeast Asian countries, we have not been able to make a big penetration. So at least having Middle East on our side will not only neutralize criticism on a lot of fronts, but it will also increase our trade possibilities. The next we come to some important national policies. The first national policy is of very great significance is an electronic version of voter identity card is being introduced. So on Jan 25th, the government announced a program where people will be able to download electronic voter ID card in their mobile phones or personal computer. It's a non-editable digital version of the electoral voter ID photo identity card, and it can be saved in your DigiLocker and can also be printed in PDF. Now, this has to be seen in light of the tremendous progress that India has made with respect to its electoral process. Now, even an advanced country like US, you could see that was really struggling to bring up the vote counting to order. But the Indian Election Commission has done such a wonderful job that for a large, diverse country like ours, the election results are almost out in a day. Even the national elections results are out in a day. And now we are going one step further. This has to be seen that progressively this will be taking us to a remote voting possibility, which means we would be in a position to use our personal devices to even put vote. Though that situation has not come, the electronic version of voter identity card, in my opinion, is the first step towards going towards a remote voting possibility, which can considerably bring down the violence, it can reduce the booth capturing, and it will make every citizen vote from the comforts of his home. And therefore, in a democratically elected government, the higher the number of votes that are polled, we are closer to the people's wish. The second very important development that's actually playing out is that we saw that the use of FASTag in our national roadways and the state roadways, highways have become compulsory. Now the government is going one step higher, and then the government has come up with this statement saying that in 2 years time frame there would be no tolls on the road. So what the government is thinking is to use a Russian-based technology, to use GPS-based system to collect tolls based on a technology where all four-wheelers which are traveling in a particular national highway, their location, based on their location, the tolls will be charged. Now the toll amount will be directly deducted from their bank or their valet, and it will be based on the distance traveled by the movement of vehicles in particular tollways. So what has to be seen is that with the tolls becoming compulsory, the NHAI is expecting the collections to be increased to around 1,34,000 crores in the next 5 years from the current 24,000 crores. And bringing in a toll booth free nation will ensure that there is absolutely no barriers in highways, and there will be a seamless movement of vehicle, and it will also further bring down the cost of transportation, because one of the biggest advantage we saw with the implementation of a FASTag based toll booth system, combined with elimination of NACAs or what we used to call the earlier state government or central excise checkpost, is that the vehicles have been able to move faster, and therefore they have been able to do multiple trips, and therefore the overall national efficiency with respect to logistics has increased tremendously. Now if you are moving one step further and you are able to remove these barriers as well, I think the national economy is really going to pick up on with respect to efficiency, and these ultimately do get translated to a better cost to the customers. The next is a very important policy announcement. I think it's a very big blockbuster policy announcement which has got completely unnoticed, is liberalization of norms governing acquisition and production of geospatial data. Now this sector has been completely deregulated, which means no prior approvals is required for surveying, mapping, or for developing any building applications. So no security clearances are required, licenses or acquisition or production for acquisition and production of geospatial data and services, including maps. So under the new guidelines, one small area which the government has been careful is that with respect to terrestrial mobile mapping, survey and street view surveying, only Indian within the Indian territorial waters, only the Indian entities will be permitted with respect to your use of this data. Whereas, and also all geospatial data produced using public funds, except those classified by the Security Law Enforcement Agency, will be made accessible for scientific economic development purposes to all Indian entities, private and public, without any restriction of use. So this particular industry, because of this two things, powerful things will happen. There will be no distinction between private and public sector enterprises, number one. Number two, this industry is going to explode from here. We all would have already experienced the benefit of using a Google Maps or maps in an Apple devices, because now driving in a highway or going to a new place, unknown place, is just you just follow the track and you are able to reach that place. So this industry is a very nascent industry which has been kind of very restricted with respect to possibilities and with respect to the opportunities that are coming out. Opening up this is going to create a lot of opportunities for small enterprises and also startups. The next important state policies is that the Delhi-based Delhi government has introduced QR-based health card system. Now we already know that the national government is in the process of creating a health information management system. Now what Delhi government has come out is very innovative, that by August every Delhiite will have this card. This card will have embedded detail with respect to his geographical information system, which is basically his current address and location in the form of a QR code. So anyone who scans it will know exactly where this patient is from, and he will also have this card will also contain the base clinical data with respect to that particular person. And therefore any public healthcare system, when he goes, suppose he is penicillin intolerant, or whether the blood group of a particular person, all these personal data will be available, and therefore the treatment can start happening even if the patient is unconscious. And this will be linked to the government's health information management system, and using this card, the particular patient or anyone who wants to consult for a healthcare reason will be able to identify the location of the public health, healthcare infrastructure. He will be able to see the availability of beds in the different hospitals. He will be able to see the doctor's qualification, the specialization that is available in a particular center, medicines and stores that will be available on a click. So what this would end up doing for the Delhi government is to digitally bring together nearly 38 government-run hospitals, 180 dispensaries, 25 polyclinics, and 500 mohalla clinics that would be scaled up to 1,000. So what we are seeing is slowly the health delivery system is moving from a paper-based system to an electronic system, and today the fact that the mobile phones have been able to permeate and to almost all the strata of the society, ease of use is really going to make things very, very easy. The final news that is of great significance is Tamil Nadu government has been able to bring down the road traffic accidents significantly. So when compared to 2016, in almost 4 years time, you have been able to see that the road traffic accidents are down by 38%, and the road traffic accident deaths are down by 54%. So this has happened because over 1.26 lakh driving licenses were suspended since 2016 for drivers talking on phone. Around 50,000 were suspended or cancelled for people driving under the influence of alcohol, and around 50,000 licenses were cancelled for repeatedly jumping the red lights, and nearly 3.3 lakh licenses were suspended for almost close to some common traffic offences. Now IT was used to real-time track the number of ambulances that we have in Tamil Nadu. We have a system called 108 ambulance services. So they used IT and artificial intelligence to start tracking where the ambulances were picking up the people and taking them to hospitals, and based on that the patrol vehicles were strategically located, and they also ensured that the ambulances were placed in places which are very close to the accident spots. So using these data, using data as a backdrop, they were able to beautifully place the ambulances and the patrol vehicles, thereby significantly increasing the possibility for help to reach out people meeting with accident. Then nearly 2,000 odd wine shops were closed in the highways, and 500 accident-prone black spots were identified and removed, and ambulances and patrol vehicles were positioned almost in 50 kilometers distance. And finally, coming to macros, we just have two important inputs. One is decline in crude imports by 10%. So however, in December, once again the overall consumption had increased, which means it shows that there has been a revival in the consumption, in the economic activity, and that is why the consumption has increased. But overall, due to the lockdown, we were able to bring down the crude imports by 10%. The other important macro event that we should be tracking is that the power consumption is setting up new national records each day. So it's a very clear sign that the economic activity has picked up subsequently, and therefore the power consumption has increased. Viewers, we will leave you at this, and we will come back with the next episode of a new series, and in that episode we will briefly cover the trends, and then we will go to the budget, because that has been a blockbuster event for the February. So thank you so much for staying in touch with us. Till the next episode is uploaded, stay healthy, stay happy, and thank you so much for watching our YouTube channel.